Hey everybody, welcome back into the WSAZ Now studio. I am Joseph Payton. We're talking college football today, which means we've got Keith Morehouse up in here to talk about, of course, the Herd, the Wildcats, the Mountaineers, the Buckeyes, the Bobcats, and, whoever else we decide to throw in there at the end of the show. Keith, you, of course, were calling the Marshall game. Mm-hmm. One of those Saturdays where you can't let one bad loss turn into a second one, a much-needed bounce-back win for the Herd. What did you see there?
I thought, obviously, it's an FCS team, Eastern Kentucky, so Marshall's supposed to win. But there are a lot of things they did much better in that game than they did against Missouri State in that loss, Joseph. I thought their defense was dominant. Eastern Kentucky, they'll win some games, obviously, in their league, the United Athletic Conference. But they only had 11 yards rushing. Marshall's defensive front caused all kinds of problems for them. So they even had to change quarterbacks, and they brought in the backup, Jordan Potts, who threw it a little bit and was successful a little bit. But Marshall, from a standpoint of defensively, dominated the game. And their offense, I thought, awakened a little bit. They obviously started their third quarterback in 3 games, Carlos Del Rio Wilson. And he's a big physical guy, 6'2", 215 or so, and he runs like a running back. So what that does is that opens up their passing game, and he was able to hit some intermediate routes and had a deep ball to Adrian Norton, the transfer from Akron, right before half, which was a big-time touchdown. So I just thought they played better. I thought that they eliminated some mistakes, and it was one of those get-well games because they wanted to make sure that they had washed away what happened at Missouri State, except for those couple of screen passes. Defensively, I thought they played well against Missouri State too. But it was a game where they got a lot of players playing time. We saw a lot of players on the defensive front that came and showed out. Braden Ward, the Riverside product, played really well. Cannon Lewis and Kerryon Martin, all those West Virginia guys played really well again. And Boogie Trotter in the secondary had 2 interceptions, one on the first play from scrimmage of the game. So it kind of set the tone, and I thought they did a nice job. Probably could have scored some more points. They got bogged down on the initial drive after the interception, but I thought that they played much better and certainly set themselves right as they get ready to play one more non-conference game before they head into Sun Belt play.
And, of course, the first win of the Tony Gibson era at Marshall. And if you follow Marshall on social media, you listen to his press conference after the game, it was an emotional win for him. He wasn't shy about kind of the way that he felt about it and wore his heart on his sleeve. Why do you think it was so emotional for him? And, I mean, you talked to him. Why was it so emotional for him?
I think, to wait that long to become a head coach and to live your life, coaching young men. And it sounds almost cliche, but, when you get to that level, the highest level you can get to in college, and you win a game and then you see how your players react, I think it just, naturally becomes an emotional emotional event. And the other part of that, Joseph, I was thinking about this when I got home Saturday and watched some of the stuff online. We talk about NIL, we talk about the portal, and we've kind of professionalized this game a little bit in college. But, man, when you see those guys just rally around a coach like that, that sort of reminds you, hey, that's what college football is about. And to see the guys care that much about him means I don't know what their record's going to be this year, but I do know this: they love playing for him. And when you see that, I think that that certainly goes a long way with how you build a program. And I think Coach Gibson appreciated that reaction from those guys for sure.
It was a special day, not only for me, my family, but this football team. So it was, it meant a lot to us to get that first win, get some confidence moving forward, and we had a really good practice Sunday, really good practice today. So hopefully that this springboards us into the rest of the season.
I would say maybe the hardest part, one of the most difficult parts at any level, any sport, when you take over a new program, is getting your guys to buy into what you're selling them, right? And so that bodes well for the future of the Tony Gibson era here in Huntington.
Yeah, and when you're talking about 72 new players, which we've documented, a whole new team, a whole new staff, it takes a little while. So if you can bring them together that quickly and they can coalesce around your program, you're going to do a whole lot better because football is the ultimate team game, and you got to have everybody buying in. And I think that's what he's after, and I think they went a long way towards that on Saturday with that win.
You talked about the fact that we've seen 3 quarterbacks in 3 games now, and Coach Gibson talked in the presser today about how each one of them kind of do something different, that each one of them has their strengths. What's your assessment of the 3 guys we've seen, and do you feel like Coach Gibson's going to kind of take it week by week like he has been?
If I had to guess this week, I think he was much more pleased with the play this week. Now, it was Eastern Kentucky, so Ja'Kai Long starts against Georgia, right? Those are two different parts of the football spectrum. But I think he liked the fact, he says for that offense to work, his quarterback has to be able to run the ball. And the best runner of the football in that quarterback room is Carlos Del Rio Wilson. Big physical guy. I mean, he dishes it out. I even asked Coach Gibson, do you wince sometimes when he takes off and lowers his head? I mean, going into a 250-pound linebacker. And he says, yeah, but they don't want to take away that aggressiveness that Del Rio Wilson brings. So if I had to guess, I think he would start this weekend. And he's looking for someone to take control. That doesn't mean that Ja'Kai Long and Zion Turner aren't necessary and won't play. They're still going to play, and Long played a lot of the second half anyway. But I think he's looking for somebody to take command. And if he found that in Del Rio Wilson on Saturday, I think he'll be the starter against Middle Tennessee. But we'll see come game time.
Well, they're going to need somebody to be in command in Murfreesboro because that's a place that's not been kind to the Marshall football program. That doesn't mean anything for this particular group and the program that is Tony Gibson's now. But you and I were just talking. It's been hard to win there for the Herd.
Yeah, it's a little bit of there was a similar team in the MAC, Bowling Green, and you know Bowling Green well. Yeah. Playing at Dwight Perry Stadium is never easy. And so they had that little bit of, I don't know, it's not a stigma, but you just go up there and sometimes you don't play well. Of the 5 trips that Marshall's taken to Murfreesboro, they've only won once. And, you know, some of that's just mistakes. Some of that's Middle's just better on that day. So, yeah, we asked Coach Gibson about that, and he had a really interesting comment of why he thinks that doesn't matter now.
Not even talking about it. We got 72 new guys and a brand new staff. None of us have ever been there. So we're going to prepare, go play a football game. Doesn't matter where we play them, on I-40, 60, it doesn't matter. We're going to show up and go play and do what we need to do. That's our goal. So, and we have to be focused. We're playing a really good quarterback. This kid could throw the football. So, but I'm not even bringing that up. I mean, we're not bringing up the past. It has nothing to do with any of us.
And on the other side of that, Joseph Marvin Myers came to the media room today. He's a transfer from Middle Tennessee. So we even asked him, hey, how do you tell the guys, be careful going there. It may not be the biggest crowd, but also listen to what Coach Gibson said and say, wash away what happened there before. It doesn't matter. And he said, I defer to Coach Gibson, but I still tell the guys that you got to go play. It's a Division I team in Conference USA. They've got athletes. And it's another road test, and those are always tougher. So I think you got the best of both worlds with those comments from Myers and Coach Gibson.
So we're coming in against an offense that's air raid, and we're going against a defense that likes to bring pressure and really betting on their guys, really aggressive on both sides. I'm just telling the guys this week, honestly, it's been less of me telling them things, but them telling me they have my back because they understand that I'm going back to where I used to be. And then I'm just emphasizing the importance of what it means for us to go down here and win.
Blue Raiders, they are 1-2, so it's not like they've been a juggernaut right now. Same record as Marshall, though, so we'll see what we get with those two teams hit the field there on Saturday. That's a 7 p.m. kickoff, so not only do you have to go into their place, you're going to get them at nighttime where people have been having a good time before the game, and just the nighttime atmosphere is always electric. Again, going to be a tough place to go win.
Yeah, they're coming off a win on the road at Nevada where they scored 2 touchdowns late to come and steal that one away. And so going that far to take on Nevada and coming back with a win, that's impressive by them. They lost to Austin Peay early in the season, really surprising, 34-14, which means Austin Peay is better than maybe we gave him credit for, and that's Marshall's current AD, Gerald Harrison. That's his old stop. So they won that one, and then they lost their other big-time FBS game. So it'll be an interesting matchup. But, yeah, the Herd's going to have to come play. They won't give you anything on the road. You know that, in any conference. So it's going to be a good test for them.
Any lasting thoughts on the Herd before we move to what was quite the night in Morgantown?
That's win number one, and Coach Gibson says you got to stack them up. And so what they're looking for is consistency. I think they want to develop a little more of a downfield passing threat. Del Rio Wilson, we mentioned, hit Adrian Norton on that beautiful fade pattern in the end zone. So they want to get more people involved. Toby Payne got involved. They have another receiver, D.D. Tamaraz, who they are really high on. So the more people you get involved, I think the more you become a team. So I think that's probably what they'll stress next. But Del Rio Wilson's ability to run the ball has kind of changed their offense on Saturday. So we'll see how it goes in Murfreesboro.
Well, I think that puts a bow on it for Marshall, at least on this episode. Let's talk about the backyard brawl. And what did we say last week? What an opportunity coming off a game that they probably all feel like they should have won. And you get to beat your rival in your house in dramatic fashion, come from behind, win it in overtime, 31-24. Did you get a chance to watch that game, and kind of what were your thoughts and reaction coming out of that?
Yeah, I was watching it on a little iPad up in the booth before Marshall's game, and I really thought it was a gut check for them. They didn't play so well. Obviously, they're shifting quarterbacks. Marchiol, they take him out and bring in 2 other quarterbacks, find themselves down 10. But I thought they rallied really well. Pitt had a golden opportunity early in that game to go to the end zone, and they threw an interception into triple coverage. Holstein, their quarterback, probably should have never thrown it. But you take those opportunities, and when you're at home, man, you seize the moment. And for Marchiol to come in there and drive him down the field when he had to, and that was a heck of a drive. And they did need that game. They needed that win because it makes the fan base feel better. It made Coach Rodriguez feel better. Because they had lost to Ohio. But you and I talk how much we talk about this last week. That was always going to be a tough game, Ohio. They proved it in Columbus, and we'll talk about that too. But Ohio's a really, really good football team. So for the fans maybe who thought, oh, that's a terrible game to lose, no, it's really not. And when you can come back, bounce back, and beat your arch rival at home, that just re-energizes the fan base as they get ready to hit the road for a trip to Kansas this week.
I think one of the most impressive performances at an individual level was Ty Edwards on Saturday. We talked about how, oh, man, what are they going to do without Jaheim White? Losing him for the year, you could argue he's their best player on offense. Many people would probably agree with that. And to have a guy like Ty Edwards step into that role and give you almost $150 and 3 touchdowns, that's huge.
Yeah, he said he'd been waiting his turn and just wanted – they ran that heavy package where they basically had 9 offensive linemen, and he said it to the media – he told Coach, you got to put me in there. I'm the biggest back. I want to run behind that heavy package. But, yeah, what he did was you can't put a price on him coming in, not having played much this year and not only filling in but really becoming the star of that show offensively. Their ability to run the ball obviously helped their ability with Marchiol to hit some big-time throws. And I thought he was the star of the game for sure. Yeah.
You've been around college football a long time. And we know that WVU fans are passionate, man, and they don't like to lose.
No.
What can a win like this do for, just getting a lot of those hardcores back in the saddle and being like, okay, we're all right,
Yeah, because any fan base is like that. And when you're used to winning, like you get into this mode where you go, here we go again. And that's not to diminish anything Coach Brown did, but I felt like the fan base kept thinking that. Every time a big game came up, they just weren't there for the taking. And so I think with Coach Rodriguez to come in this game, in this atmosphere, coming off a loss to a game that you really can't lose if you're West Virginia coach or Pitt's coach, right? That's how passionate that rivalry is. 108 years they've played that game. So I think it showed a lot of character, and that's the kind of win that can propel you. Now, if they can go win on the road at Kansas, then you start to pay attention to what they're doing. And I think what Marchiol did also is he got back the keys to that offense after they took him out. And he proved to his coaching staff, don't take me out because I can march them down and go get the win. And I thought he showed a lot of moxie, and he even talks like that in the postgame. He seems to be the leader of that offense, so I think he showed them something on Saturday.
And they're going to need him to show up and have a similar performance, if not better, if they want to beat Kansas. Kansas is 2-1. They are coming off a loss to Missouri. But we know they have some talented guys. Obviously, it's a Big 12 game, so it's important for that reason alone. But when somebody like Jalen Daniels is playing quarterback across from you, you know you're going to have to score some points to keep up.
I remember being in a hotel room in South Bend, Indiana, the night that Marshall beat Notre Dame, covering that game, and then watching that West Virginia-Kansas game when Daniels was a freshman. And I just remember looking at that kid saying, man, that guy's a player. Mm-hmm. And they beat West Virginia that day. And so the Mountaineers know all about him. I think Coach Rodriguez stressed in his news conference, hey, you got to be disciplined when you play this guy because he can light you up with his legs or with his arm. He's really, really talented. And, Kansas with that brand-new football stadium, they're all energized about what they've got going. And this will be a big test on Saturday for certain.
Kansas has got a really talented team. Have had an open week, so they've got 2 weeks to prepare. The new stadium, all that goes with it, with their Big 12 opener against us at home. So we got to, after Sunday, kind of turn the page from last week and get ready to play a good football team on Saturday night.
I can remember maybe that same year, and Jalen Daniels was kind of, making his mark on college football, and there were people talking about maybe this guy could win the Heisman Trophy one day. Just that kind of ceiling is what they were putting on him. They thought, man, there's a lot of potential with that guy. Of course, that's cooled off, but he is a playmaker.
Yeah, and to see him still there, after not being poached from somebody, going to some other program, even, maybe even a bigger program than the Big 12. It's not often you see a quarterback hang around these days for that long. But yeah, he's a good quarterback. They've got things going in a good direction out there. So that's going to be a stern test because West Virginia going on the road again, and of course they went to Ohio. But this is Big 12 play, and you got to ratchet up the intensity for sure.
Well, you just mentioned Ohio. Let's talk about them. We were in Columbus, or I was in Columbus there Saturday night to see Ohio State beat the Bobcats 37-9. But you were telling me you were keeping an eye on that one too, and at one point you looked down and it's 13-9 in the third quarter. What were your thoughts?
I just went, really? I mean, it didn't surprise me, but Ohio State, they out-athlete everybody at every position. They, number one team in the land. You got them at home. I thought maybe Ohio might come in not a little too high coming off that win, so who knows how they would handle it. But you know what Brian Smith has done with that team is pretty special. When they got the 67-yarder to Hendricks to make it 13-9, you were there. You tell me, man, I bet that place went quiet except for the pocket of Ohio fans, right?
There's just a lot of people all of a sudden looking around. You're seeing some of these.
The Cobra thing?
Yeah, the surrender Cobra. Not quite a surrender Cobra because it wasn't like people thought, wait, is Ohio State going to lose?
Right.
But it was just kind of like, okay, folks, it's 13-9 here. We're in the third quarter, and everyone's just kind of waiting for when's this going to become a 2-3, maybe even a 4-score game. So, yeah, that people were a little tense there in that moment. Now, they had the Marching 110 way up in CDEC, and they were rocking and rolling, and so was everybody in green. But I think it was really just a testament to Ohio's defense in that first half. You want to talk about the recipe for upsetting a team you have no business beating? Yep. It's keeping them out of the end zone and forcing field goals. Ohio State couldn't hardly find the end zone on those red zone trips early in the game.
Yeah, and credit Ryan Day in that offense because when you're faced and you're up against it, you go to your stars. So Jeremiah Smith, you can have the best defense in the world, but if Smith gets loose, and he does, what do you do, right? He's an All-American, maybe the best receiver in college football. So they did what they had to do. But, I think that's a good game for Ohio. Were they going to go in and shock number one? Maybe. Not in a it just doesn't happen very often. And for Ohio State to get tested. I think it'll help both teams down the road. Look what Ohio's done now. They've beaten West Virginia in Athens, and they gave a little bit of a scare through the third quarter in Columbus to Ohio State. And now they got Gardner-Webb this weekend, so they should roll in that one. But this sets them up for MAC play, and it wouldn't surprise me again if we don't see them in Detroit for the MAC championship again.
Playing hard, practicing hard, and you just go out and compete, right? So at the end of the day, they men, we men. I mean, they are the number one team in the country, but you don't shy away from competition. I'm a competitor. I know he's a competitor. I know the guys that I'm competing with in the locker room are competitors too. So we just put our best foot forward, try to come out victorious. It didn't happen. On to the next. And
I think that's the way a lot of Bobcat fans feel after Saturday. They're like, well, we should probably, win most of our games, if not all of them, from here on out.
But don't get spoiled, right? Yeah, because the MAC plays good
legit.
Football. Yeah, and those are the rolling hills in college football season for every team and every conference in America. You get, don't get too high after one loss, don't get too low or high after one win and too low after a loss because it's a long slog through conference season. You're going to go to places where maybe they don't have the fans like you've been used to, the crowd at Payton, the crowd at the Horseshoe, and you're going to go play, in Eastern Michigan, you're going to go play at Kent, and ain't nobody there. So you got to bring your own energy. And but Brian Smith seems to have them dialed in correctly, and they, to a man afterwards, and you heard him, Joseph, they basically said, look, we didn't come in just to show. We came in to try to win the game. So that kind of confidence can carry over to the rest of the season for him.
You say, welcome to Akron, where 90% of the people there are the two bands, if both of them come, right?
And they got a great stadium, too. That always perplexes me.
The old Rubber Bowl, it's a shame that one's gone, I
guess.
No,
actually, it's good that one's gone.
Yeah, I guess.
That place, man, you talk about a house of horrors for a lot of teams going in there to play.
No kidding. Of course, you mentioned OU gets Gardner-Webb this week. The last time they played, I was in school. That was 2016. Gardner-Webb came to Athens, and OU won that matchup. So Bobcats are a heavy favorite. Gardner-Webb is 2-1. They've beaten Western Carolina in the Citadel. Their only losses to Georgia Tech, who we just saw this weekend, may be better than people were giving them credit for in the preseason. So we'll see how that matchup turns out. Tell us a little bit about Kentucky, because they beat another MAC opponent, 48-23. They beat Eastern Michigan, and they had a new quarterback in there this week.
Yeah, and Coach Stoops had alluded to that earlier in the week, that he said Cutter will play. And Calzada, whether he was banged up or not, this was the kind of game where you can play Cutter Bowley. And not that he can't play against an SEC team, but, man, it's a nice way to kind of rein him in and bring him in kind of slowly. And they scored 48 points. He was 12 of 21, 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it's nice to get your offense on track because, boy, we've talked about the gamut that you run in college football. When you're Kentucky and you're going through the SEC, it is a nightmare. So they get that win as they were supposed to be, and then they've got a little time off before they got to jump into SEC play.
Yeah, they're off this week, but you talk about the gauntlet they're going to be running here. Their next 2 games on the road at South Carolina, who I know just lost. That doesn't mean they're a bad football team.
Right.
But just got beat by Vanderbilt, if I recall correctly. And then Kentucky has to go to Georgia the very next week. So 2 straight road games in SEC play against 2 incredibly talented teams. They'll have to get their house in order this week before they hit the road.
Yeah, and, South Carolina coming off the loss to Vandy. I mean, Vandy's got that quarterback that is lights out.
Diego
Pavia. And he's done that to a couple of teams already. So we're looking at, you're looking at a team that can play. And in that league, Vandy used to be the automatic win. You wrote it down before the season. Not this year. So, Coach Stoops knows what's going on. It is just like walking through a minefield going through the SEC. So I'm sure they'll be glad to kind of get some people healed and then wait for that week off as they get ready to head to Columbia.
All right. I always like to ask you, as we look around the rest of college football, anything else catch your attention this week that is worth noting, worth talking about? A lot of discussion over the AP poll these last couple of weeks.
I watched that Notre Dame game, and it was a great game. And Notre Dame, boy, those fans, you talk about the surrender cobra after that one.
Oh, poor guys.
I mean, that touchdown pass at the end of the game. Now, you go back and look, and did they miss a couple of holding calls? Probably. But you can't put yourself in that position. 0-2, should Notre Dame be ranked? Probably not. And it's so early. That's why these polls, I think, aren't really germane to the conversation in college football, but it's fun to talk about. But, South Florida loses, and they're out of the top 25. Notre Dame's 0-2, and they're in the top 25. So it's fun. I always enjoy going home after games and watching, college football final and seeing how everybody does, because the best part of that show, it's not just geared to the Big Ten and the SEC. They show a bunch of teams from all over the country, and there's a lot of good football teams out there, Joseph. It's fun to watch some of those West Coast teams you don't get to see very often, and just to enjoy the game. And like I told you earlier, it's fun to watch the emotion. That's one thing they can't take out of the game right now. Maybe down the road it's gone, but the emotion of college football, you can't escape. It's out there, and every week it's fun to watch these guys celebrate.
There's a purity to the game.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about maybe a team that hasn't beaten a certain opponent in several years, or a team that hasn't won their conference in 50 years, and they finally get over that hump. You can't fake that kind of emotion, and you still see that in college football.
Yeah, and you talked about the reaction from Coach Gibson in the locker room when his team, you pan over, I mean, Coach is choking up. That's real. He's not faking that. Mm-hmm. And Coach Rodriguez on the field after the Pitt West Virginia game, he was screaming. He was that fired up. So that's the fun part of the game, the emotional part of the game. That that's why fans go. That's why people pay big money. That's why they roll out these crazy tailgates. It's a great time of the year, and it really is fun to watch. That's why every Saturday is kind of a precious time. You only get 12 of them guaranteed.
Here's one thing I should have brought up to you. Did you see that Rufus and Brutus did bury the hatchet? Did you see that?
I did. Jared Smalley, our former coworker here at WSAZ, Jared's a good friend. The work he put into that story was fantastic. If you get a chance, go on WCMH's website, Channel 4 in Columbus. He reunited those guys, or didn't reunite them. They're in 2 different places. Mm-hmm. But the retelling of that story is fantastic. He put so much work into it. And I texted him, and he allowed us to run it down here on WSAZ. And it is a great piece of journalism, man. It just captures the rivalry, the fact that Rufus was planning that all along, like Squints Polydorus and Sandlot. Yeah. And, but Brutus said, I didn't know what was happening. And he goes, I still made it to the end zone.
I shook off the tackle.
Yeah, the way he pieced that together was brilliant.
Keith Morrison in there?
Oh, yeah. Keith making a cameo. Yeah. And Jared even doing a little Keith Morrison voice. just good stuff, man. That again, that's what makes college football so fun.
I knew the beef was squashed in Ohio Stadium there. I think it was in the third quarter. They had Rufus and Brutus both lead the OHIO chant around the stadium together.
See? Diplomacy is good.
Now, the OU fans up in C-Deck, we're throwing up a U at the end for OU
okay.
to,
because
try to create some difference.
As we know, Ohio University is an older academic institution than
1804.
Ohio State.
It is the first.
That's right.
That can't be argued.
No, they can't take that
You
one.
can talk football all you want, but you got to give us that one.
And good for the crowd up there in the pocket, making
For
noise
sure.
for the Bobcats.
Well, I think that does it for this episode, Keith. I appreciate you
Hey, thanks for
hopping
having
up
me.
here.
Always enjoy it.
Yes, sir. All right, we certainly appreciate Keith Morehouse joining us up here to talk college football in the WSAZ Now studio. Remember, we are hooking you up with 2 episodes of WSAZ Sports Plus each and every week. On Tuesdays, we talk high school football. That's at 6:30 p.m. when we stream that on the WSAZ app. And then on Wednesdays at 6:30 when we talk college football, of course, the episode you're watching right now, that's always on Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. on the WSAZ app. Remember that all of our episodes are available right now. You can go to the YouTube channel and go to the playlist, WSAZ Sports Plus. You can also go to our website, WSAZ.com, as well as the WSAZ app. And, of course, on podcast platforms, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's free. Subscribe. It's going to notify you every time we post a new episode. Usually have those scheduled to post right about the time that the stream ends. 7 o'clock, 7:15, 7:20 on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights. So, appreciate you all joining us. For as long as you guys will keep listening and watching, we'll keep talking high school football and college football. We've certainly enjoyed it. Hope you guys have enjoyed it as well. For now, we will see you next week, same time, same place, 6:30 p.m. right here in the WSAZ Now studio. For now, this has been WSAZ Sports Plus.